So hey everybody, welcome to July the 7th. We are on episode 9 today of the hashtag Unite Kindness campaign presented in partnership with Global Dignity and MC2 and Athletica Rewards. I'm the proud founder of Athletica Rewards, and I'm really excited to bring today with, of course, our host Ken Lubin from Executive Athletes, an incredible founder, local entrepreneur like myself, but international owner of SPORTSTATS. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Ken to get the interview started, to learn a little bit about what's going on in SPORTSTATS world and the event space, which I know a lot of you are probably very curious on because, of course, due to COVID, we've taken a big turn of events for 2020. So without further ado, Ken, over to you.
Hey, Mark, it's great to have you on here. It's an interesting time out there in the space, and being in the events world, it's got to be crazy. Tell us a little bit about how you're dealing with that, where this is going, what are your insights? But first of all, tell us a little bit about who Mark is, and then we can get rolling from there.
That's great. Thanks, Ken. Thanks, Angela, for having me. Yeah, my name is Mark Roy. I'm the CEO of SPORTSTATS and SPORTSTATS World. We're basically one of the largest timing company in the world, doing about 1,300 events in about between 30 and 40 countries every single year. We started right here in Ottawa almost 30 years ago, and basically now doing events all over Canada, all over the US, and we have offices in Asia as well, in Bangkok and in Singapore. So we're all over the world. And yeah, this new situation, we've gone from doing, on a typical weekend in June, we would do 30 to 40 events per weekend around the world. And we've gone to pretty much 0 events right now with everything that's going on. We have a few events that have started again in some states, very small events in Utah, motocross racing and so on. But most of our mass participation event, the large marathons, the large triathlons, have all come to a stop, as we know. So it's been kind of difficult to adjust to that, but I don't think it's going to come back to the mass participation anytime soon, but we're trying to adjust as much as we can.
And Mark, what are you hearing about mass participation events, right? Are things happening? I know there's some events like a Spartan race, or like you said, the motocross stuff is coming back, and littler other smaller things are happening. But are you getting a pulse on what the future is, where the future is going? What are your thoughts there?
Well, you see a lot of events out there that are actually taking the lead on what it's going to look like when we go back to racing. So the large events have already done all the work of what it could look like to start a big marathon with 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 runners and have the physical distancing with it. And they kind of proven that it could probably be done over a long period of time. Even Ironman has done a great job of putting a video together about what it could look like, where they've reduced the touch points by 90%. They've already done all the legwork to get back to a safe level of participation. The issue we're having right now is that most people, especially in the US, are not listening. Like, you look at all the cases everywhere, they've gone back through the roof because basically they've gone out too soon. The bars have opened too soon. The parties have gone on too quick, and the cases are going out of control. And like, I know in Ottawa, where I live today, we have a mandatory mask order into effect, where if we want to go out in public, out in a restaurant or out and get some groceries, you have to have a mask in place. And in Ottawa, 99.9% of the people are actually going to do it. There's going to be no question about it. Whereas if you look at the US sometime, you might have some compliance in many of the states, but many of the people in some states are like, they want nothing to do with that. So until that comes along and until the cases can be controlled, I don't think we can return to safe racing anytime soon. So any races that are going to be over 1,000 participants, I don't think we're going to see any of those until 2021 right now.
And that's interesting. And I like what you said there about sort of the people following the rules, right? If I think in Ottawa, they'll follow the rules. I know in Boston and New York, crazy as New York and Connecticut, they've all been following the rules, and you watch the cases go down. And in the parts of the country that weren't following the rules, the cases are going up, right? And that's more detrimental to events like yours and your business and everything else. Talk to us about online. Are you guys doing things online with online events or virtual events or any of that type of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. We've turned our entire business since March, and we started predicting that in February that we had to go and offer virtual online services simply because we got affected first in Asia. So we've done a ton of events in Vietnam. We're up to 36 events in Vietnam now, and those were the first events in February being canceled. So our entire Asia style, like all of our events are being canceled, and it was not in Canada and US yet. And I remember doing the last race we did, I think was around March 14th or 15th in Mexico somewhere. That was the last event we actually timed. And we haven't had any major events since then, and we had to adjust. So what we've done is we created a brand new virtual platform on the SPORTSTATS website where people could easily create an account and simply upload all their results. And then events, we're helping events as well, basically either mailing out all their medals, t-shirts, and so on, and people can upload all their results. And we've worked on a few things. One is integrated apps and platform, like we have Strava working, Map My Run, Runkeeper coming up within the end of the month. They'll be integrated, so it makes it easier for people to connect to our platform, which was not there before. But what we're trying to do is, in the long run, what we want to do is once we go back to normal, and you take an event like the Canada Army Run, for example, where you might have 30,000 participants that are present, the people that can't be there, so an event like the Army Run will be able to also offer a virtual option to participants that actually are maybe deployed in Afghanistan, for example, but they want to take part in the 5K. So we want to extend our services to virtual down the road once we come back to normal. So we created the entire platform, but we actually did it in a way where we can use it down the road as well.
I think that's becoming the next big thing too, as well, right? For people actually training, it's taking Zwift or Peloton to the next level, and actually now turn it into pro sports. And the funny thing is, it's adapting. I think it's a bit of excitement that people are doing there, and then it's going to be, can potentially lead into a whole new world of the new esports that I think is probably taking over more than other sports are.
Yeah, it's been very interesting to watch even the latest Tour de France going online right now on Zwift, and watching the Pro Triathlon Series go on Zwift the last few weeks. I've been excited for us to see that. Watching what Ironman has done with their virtual platform, bringing together over 100,000 people participating all over the world. It's basically providing everybody a goal, a set value. And that's why you see a lot of these virtual events like bringing on, also what we're seeing is a different crowd. Like people that we form different groups online now. We're helping different virtual events, and we're seeing participants before that would never have done this on their own, or would never want to show up at a 5K because they're too intimidated to be there. They don't want to be there. And having this to do on their own backyard at their own pace, they're like, you know what, I love this. So we've seen in some of these virtual events, 60-75% of participants that are brand new to doing their first 2K or first 5K. So it's kind of bringing newcomers to the sport as well.
And let's shift gears here a little bit. And you're a CEO, you're running a global business. Talk to us about leadership during these tough times, right? I think that's the other piece. How have you led? Have you led, what's been your sort of style of leadership through this? I know everyone's got a little bit different things that they've had success with, but we'd love to see some of your successes and some of your challenges around leadership.
The biggest challenge right off the bat is seeing basically our revenues get cut to zero. So right away, when we saw this happening and there was no government funding, there was nothing in place, the first thing we stepped is I look at my business partner, Isabel, which has been a big part of what's going on today, of where we looked at this and said, okay, well, we have to cut all staff for now, because you have to remember, we have 150, 160 employees worldwide, but most of those are what we call our weekend warriors that are going out to events and coming back. So they're all on contract base. But we still have 40 to 50 full-time employees around the world. And the first thing we reacted is we basically probably reacted a bit quick. We almost basically laid off everybody right off the bat, just because there was no revenues coming in right away. We had to make a decision. And once the government funding started happening, is we did a lot of homework. The CFO did a lot of homework to actually look what all the fundings so we got every single loan available. We got all the government help that was available, and we rehired every single one of our staff. And basically the first part was, of course, building this virtual platform that did not exist from the ground up, bring everybody back on board, and then also helping out with other virtual platform where we become a hub, for example, for shipping. Like we're shipping 1,000 orders a day out of our office right now. So our warehouse was completely turned into a shipping warehouse, both in Canada and the US, to help out these virtual events. events and so on. So that's how we've kind of adjusted. The other thing we did, of course, is we took a time to review all of our contracts, all of our clauses, all of our force majeure clauses, because sometimes you always think your business is actually going to be spared from any economic impact. But something like this, where it stops the entire world, it's the first time in my experience that I ever heard. If you go back to the big issue, the economic impact in 2008, 2009, when that happened, it was actually a boost for our business. Everybody stopped traveling, but they started spending more money locally, and we saw a huge increase in participation the next year after that, and so on. So this is the first time that actually it took our company to a complete stop. So we had to rethink how we offered services and so on, and use those government programs to make sure that we're staying afloat and keeping the lights on right now.
But yeah, no, and it's great that you're actually able to pull that off and to get people back on board, because that helps with morale as well.
Absolutely, yeah. The entire team around the world. Where it's been a bit more difficult for us, believe it or not, has been Asia. There's no government funding programs out there. There's nothing that exists actually to help companies to get back on their feet and to actually provide employment. So over there, again, they've worked on the virtual events, and they're just starting to have small triathlons again. The company in Asia also puts on events. So they've put on a couple of triathlons with 200 participants or less over like a 5-6 hour period. So they're just starting to get going, but that's been more difficult in Asia just because there's no programs that are out there. We are lucky, like people complain about the governments all the time in the US and Canada, but what they've done to enable businesses like ours to actually survive with rent subsidies, which basically payroll subsidies that enable us to keep the lights on. Without those, we would have probably had to, again, lay off everybody and basically hope it comes back anytime soon. But as soon as this happened, we actually did a calculation of what if no events were happening in 2020, can we actually survive till the end of the year? And that's what we looked at right away. So we budgeted, we planned everything based on that. And that's what actually has helped us get through this so far.
No, that's a great idea, right? Worst case scenario, and worry about have best case plans, but worst case scenario. And I think that's going to shift leadership. I think that's going to shift the sports business, the big game business and the stadiums and everything else moving forward. I think, you're going to see individuals or organizations do things differently, a lot like you have, right? Is pivot. Let's make it virtual. Let's get people tied in. Funny thing is, I was watching NASCAR on Sunday. I'm not a NASCAR fan, but it was on TV, and it sort of sucks you in because you have events going on. And I think that's what's going to motivate people moving forward.
Yeah, I think the toughest thing right now is, I think those indoor sports, the indoor stadiums, and NHL, NBA, and so on, even baseball, basically, they're in a tight environment where they're packing everybody in. Those are going to be the last events to come back. Until we see full stadiums, we're probably talking end of 2021, maybe 2022 is what the experts are saying right now. I think the mass events will come back earlier than that, just because they have that an outdoor environment and they can control how they actually make the start, the finish area, and so on. And then we have an event actually August 18th in Quebec. Right now, that will be the first event that we're timing, or is it July 18th, 200 participants, which they got the permit because they're doing the physical distancing. They're sending off one runner every 10 seconds over basically it's a loop course with a different start and different finish line. So that's the other thing that we've been doing quite a bit is working with events and calculating the flow, how to start the waves, like the faster people first, the slower at the back, and so on. So there's no anybody crossing each other. So I think we still think that events with up to 2,000 runners could happen as soon as September if everything is placed right and done correct and practicing the physical distancing. The other thing we've done as well is we've actually created, that's one thing I forgot, is we created a brand new event at our SPORTSTATS headquarters in Ottawa called the Physical Distancing 5K. It's the first 100% self-serve 5K in Ottawa, where you buy a bib online, we ship you your bib, you receive the map and everything, and you come to our office. As soon as you pop in front of our office with your bib on, your name pops up on the screen, and you're ready to go. You follow the arrows on the course, you come back, and your name pops up again on the screen with your time, and you can do up to 4 laps that day. And we've had about 300 people purchase bibs from us and basically do it. And now we're working with the Ottawa Marathon, and we're looking to actually add 5 more locations. So you could do up to 6 locations in Ottawa. You buy 1 bib and you do all 6 locations. So it kind of gives people something to do. And we have 250 timing systems sitting on our shelves right now. Might as well use them.
There you go. That's awesome. I like it. You have to get, I think that's a great way to even end off and move in, because I know we're coming up on the half hour here, but that's perfect, Mark, with what you guys are working on, obviously showing, you know, to others that are out there that it is possible to think unique. And I love the fact that, you know, your business partner and yourself took the time to sit down, and that's smart. I believe Isabel's background is obviously, she's a certified CA, right? Or CPA. And oftentimes companies don't realize you have to look at burn, right? And you guys did that smart metrics of saying, okay, what if, you know, what do we need, or how long can we last at the rate that it is right now if we didn't have support, if we did? And we've been fortunate, you know, in Canada, obviously, to see great support come out of our governments to be able to get there. But we're going to also have to work hard to put that back into the coffers over the next decade, so the money gets back there. But I think, you know, in light of the innovation that you're coming with these micro events, that's really cool, because that could be well thought about for other communities or other organizations or event directors that are in other cities, because you've got that readily available. So I think, you know, leaving off on, we are about Unite Kindness. The whole purpose is to unite individuals, organizations, events to each other through the course of our campaign. There's no cost to doing this. Our whole goal is to reach individuals that really do want to live a healthy lifestyle and care about giving back through that. And I, you know, definitely appreciate your time today, and Ken's too. But I think maybe what we need is, what we'll do on our Facebook page is make sure that we share SPORTSTATS website, so people can go and check out what you guys are up to, and also some of these great events. And I think, yeah, if you are a race director and you're tuning in, or you're somebody who lives in a community who's an avid runner and maybe a part of a club, and you think that you might be interested in something like what, Mark, you just said about, you know, Ottawa based, and here are some of the runs, that would be a really needed initiative, because I think there's probably a lot of small communities that could put on like a 5 or a 10K just the same way you just explained, and that could be a really neat metric. And you guys have, as you said, all this timing equipment that's just kind of sitting there waiting to be, you know, re-engaged, and hopefully you're right, and start to see events with social distancing practices in place come back up. But, you know, thanks for joining us for week 9 of our virtual campaign to unite kindness across the world. The exciting part to share with the viewers that are coming back and those that are new, our partners with Global Dignity and NC2, we are really excited where we're getting up to 4,000 actions a day across the world, over 80 countries. So it is making a difference, and now we're seeing impacts. I think the total campaign over the 9 weeks has reached over 15 million social media impressions. So we're really excited that what we are working on is making a difference, and people are sharing that. So I'm going to take a bigger part now that our galleries are all about hashtag Unite Kindness. And you know what we'll do this week, Mark, in celebration that you were with us, is hashtag Unite Kindness at SPORTSTATS World, your Instagram and your Facebook, so people can check you guys out. As you know me, I'm going to be out on my bike, so I'm going to make sure that I'm even more proactive as I add to the tan lines. If I stand up, you guys can see the tan lines going on. I'll start to show that a little bit more, and same thing with my co-partners as we get this out the door, but sharing what you guys are going through, and appreciate all the work that you guys are doing at SPORTSTATS, because I know it's been a difficult time for your business as well as so many. So we want to make sure that we keep you guys healthy and prosperous so that you can make it into 2021. So thank you so much for taking your time today.
Thanks, Ken. Thanks, Angela. Awesome.
Perfect. It was a pleasure, and great, Mark, to have you on.
Take care.